nice.
Anyway, that's quite enough silliness for one day already, isn't it? Goodness gracious me. Look, folks, I don't think I need to give Coach Stephen Thomas any introduction whatsoever, so I won't, except that I just did. Welcome once again to the channel, to the program. It's always a pleasure to have our fertile fireside discussions, I guess. The situation here in Pimbatia at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday is that for those of you in freedom units, we are yet to hit 32. And for those working in the decimal or metric system, we're still in the minus side of the temperature department. It's bloody cold is what I'm telling you. Frozen solid, stiff as a board it is, and stuff. Ted, well, I can't get a thing out of him. Frankly, I can't do a thing with Ted. Yeah, and if you do want to follow Ted, by the way, Ted is available for your viewing pleasure on the X platform, where he likes to make commentary to all sorts of folks, mostly about seeing them next Tuesday. That's just his style. Don't confuse me with him. Look, it's very simple. Very simple. See, one of us is a small yellow furry teddy bear, and one of us is me. You see how they're different? You see that? Follow him over there on the X platform. Follow me here, and never the twain shall meet. For goodness sake, it's not hard. Stop calling him me. He gets very upset. Quite rightly too, isn't it, Stephen?
Well, absolutely. Yes. And yes, I'm 100% behind Ted.
Yes, as you should be.
Absolutely.
Yes, don't get in front of Ted. That could be a big mistake. I promise.
Yes. Now, not wishing to copy you too much, but I've actually instigated a little white sheep. Right?
Oh.
Whenever I'm on with Richard Smith and he's getting into a very long answer, which is always fabulous information, by the way, but sometimes when you've only got an hour and there's 30 questions piling up. Yeah. So a little brown sheep is you've got 2 minutes, and a little white one is 1 minute.
Right. Good. Yes, I think Ted has been twiddling all the right knobs this morning so far. Good boy, Ted. Good boy. You carry on twiddling those knobs.
Yes.
Good.
So we're on the Meat Militia channel, are we, or not your main?
No, we're on the main
one?
channel. I mean, you know, it's all good. I have 4 or 5 other channels, but they really don't get used, and mostly that's because nobody watches them. So I just do all the different things. I just put them all together on this one channel and go, well, there you go. You sort through it. You know, good luck.
Yes.
Sort of thing.
Hello. Hi.
Right.
Yep.
Yes. Hello to everybody that's in the house. Yes, I am well. I did have a bit of a burnout a week or so ago. I pushed myself too hard. I went at it, too much. And the old immune system said, no, that's enough for now. For those of you that don't know, I've been a bit busy tidying up around here and cleaning up and stuff. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And yeah, I've been watching some of your updates, but I'd like to know what the latest is, if you're prepared to say what's going on. The last time I saw it, It looked like a building site.
Well, it really is actually a bit of that, among other things. Yeah, for those that have had your head somewhere warm and moist and don't know what's been going on, we here in the independent sovereign nation of Pimbatia, which is located in the Tasman district of New Zealand, we experienced 3 flooding events in the last 6 weeks. The first one was like a biblical event where fully 1/3 of my farm disappeared under a raging torrent of water, which ripped out trees, gouged out the topsoil off a large portion of the farm down to 2.5 meters, or about 8.5 feet deep. Just ripped it all off and just tore it off downstream. Ripped out several miles of fencing and tore that off downstream. Took anything that was sat anywhere in the farm with it, all gone, sort of stuff, to be found in the bay at some point by somebody. And then that all calmed down and the water receded, and we looked at it and we said, oh, that's a mess and such. And it was. And we just started to tidy up a bit and clean things up a bit and, you know, go through the process, which is going to be a long process. And bugger me if I'm lying, 2 weeks after the first event, it rained again, and we got basically repeat screening. Same level of water, same degree of mayhem and chaos all over again. The second time it was more psychological than actually damaging, because the scar was already there, the damage was already done, so it wasn't going to do further damage so much, except to our poor psychology, really. That receded, the water went down, it was a bit more of a mess again because there was more silt and, you know, river rocks deposited everywhere, etc. And then the third event occurred 2 weeks later again, which was smaller than the first two, I'll grant you, but nonetheless it was like, oh God, here we go again. Anyways, we've had several weeks of fine weather and minus 0 degrees C, around about, you know, 25 to 30 degrees F in the mornings. And between myself and Air Marshal Peter Sawyer, we moved something like 5 tons of firewood that we cut up and took up to the shed. Because, you know, when life throws lemons at you, you make lemonade, don't you? And we have like trees, whole trees lying around the property that just need hacking up into firebox shaped sized articles, chucking on the back of the ute and putting up in the shed to dry for probably a couple of years because they're pretty waterlogged, but there you go. So we've been doing that and trying to clean up the silt and mud a bit. You go down there to the back of the property where it all is, and I don't know if you know that smell when you go to like a mud flats or a beach or something like that, and it's all anaerobic, and it just has that smell. That's what it's like down there. It's pretty vile. Grass is all gone. It won't be grazable down there for probably 12 months or more, and that's a third of our grazing, basically. Anyway, we'll cope because we decided from the outset to be understocked, so that's good. We didn't lose a single head of stock in any of the flooding events, mostly because of Her Majesty Pim's quick activities and making sure that didn't happen, making sure everybody was up on the higher land. So that was good. Well done, her. We're all alive. The house was pretty well unaffected, except for one small area of carpet that got a bit soggy. So all in all, you know, an expensive event because, well, several miles of fencing, which is not covered remotely adequately by insurance, whatever. And the actual repair to the land itself, such that we might have to do. Our road access was taken out. The bridge was the bridge approaches were washed out basically at both ends, just leaving the bridge structure standing in the middle of this where it was normally a brook, which had become this raging torrent. And so we've had no road access now for the best part of 6 weeks, except for a back entrance, if you like, which is a forestry track, a metal forestry track, single lane most of the way, snorkely, windy up and down through a mountain pass through the forestry to get to us. So there's that. Anyway, that's the update. That's what's been happening. And later on this afternoon, our latest guest will be arriving to help muck in for a bit, for a couple of weeks. And you'll hear more about that, I would say, during the next couple of weeks, because he's quite well known. And I'm sure he'll want to do some collaborative stuff while he's here as well. But I won't name him right now, just because I haven't actually checked with him that it's okay for everyone to know that he's going to be here. I presume, of course, that it will be. But you'll find out about that from, well, tomorrow, probably. So there it is. And we'll be doing more firewood and fixing things and making stuff happen and restoring water to drinking troughs and, you know, restoring electric fencing and doing manly men stuff, farming and grrr.
It's pretty scary, though, when it first hit the screens. I couldn't believe what was happening to you. I just couldn't believe it. It's just frightening. The power of nature is incredible.
Yes,
Whether
it's very humbling.
Yeah.
And when you
Whether it
sat
is-
there, because
Yeah.
basically when that flood occurred, basically we are pinched where we live in between the forestry behind us, which is almost vertical straight out behind us, and the roads on the other side of the watercourse that flooded. So we were we've got nowhere to go really, except up into the forestry. Not that the flood was going to get to the level of the house, because the house is elevated sufficiently that that's not going to happen. But nonetheless, it's like, wow, we are, accessible actually by helicopter. Yeah, anyway, so there it is. Here it is.
Incredible.
Yep.
You're doing much better than I thought, to be honest, because it's a hugely stressful thing that you're going through. So you're doing really well, Bart.
Thank you. Yes. It's just one foot in front of the other, one bite at a time, one job at a time. Restore this, restore that, get the systems up and running, make sure the animals have what they need, then take care of what the people need. I just don't have time to fall to bits, except I did overdo it last week, and I did actually get an infection, and was like, oh, that's my body telling me just slow down, stop, because it's just been go, go, go all the time. But there you go. Will I get financially compensated? Well, I had some insurance. It was not adequate. Nobody does. Most farmers around the region here have no insurance at all, because insurance is cost prohibitive in New Zealand as a function of the Christchurch earthquakes of 10, 15 years ago. The insurance companies are still charging everybody double and treble on their premiums to try and recoup that. So people just can't afford insurance. So yes, I'll get some coverage, but not remotely dollar for dollar. It's one of those things.
Yeah, it is one of those things, which is always upsetting, I think, because the insurance companies win either way. They're supposed to work on risk and protect you, and then they rarely pay the proper value. I mean, they don't with cars, and anyway, I don't want to get into that. It's a bit boring.
No, they always make an excuse, don't they? To they have adjusters that come around and visit, and all of this.
Yes,
it is what it is. And the other thing that people don't realize is that insurance companies have insurance companies that insure their insurance.
Underwriting, absolutely.
And as such, at the end of the day, somebody's taking a risk here. That's why they take your premiums. And yet they're happy to take the premiums and put that in the bank. But when you turn around and say, okay, now we've suffered this obvious and demonstrable loss. Ah, yes, but they say, oh dear, Ted was cross. Ted was furious. You wouldn't believe how furious Ted was, because he has very expensive tastes, does Ted. Anyway, there it is.
Yeah.
The
carnivore calm. Yes.
Yeah. Look, there has been moments of less than total calmness around here, let's say, but you get that out and you express that, and then you move on, don't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was trying to. By the way, we did the Great British Meetup at the weekend just gone.
Nice.
And it was very nice, and we had some brilliant speakers like Stephanie Taylor, Lauren Tucker, Lee Copus, who I think. George Goodenough. If you've not had him on your channel, he's very good.
I haven't.
That's a very English name, isn't it? George Goodenough. That's his real name. Right. Some Welsh bloke called Richard Smith and myself.
Yeah.
And
is there another George called George a bit shit?
Well, I think he'd be a vegan,
British,
wouldn't he?
A bit
yes.
Yes. Yes, but very British. I'm a bit cross. You're absolutely radiating fury, and I'm a bit cross, or something's a bit shit. Yeah. Well, that's good enough. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. But it was a really good thing to meet all these people. But the carnivore calm was very much in abeyance there, because there was a huge queue. I think what's really funny, there was a huge queue for the food. Everyone was chatting, no one was getting stressed, and the caterers were, oh wow, I'm really surprised. All these people eat a lot of meat and they drink a lot of water. I was actually surprised.
Yes, indeed.
It's sort of what we do.
Is the damage in the 5-figure range? You're one short there. Sorry to say.
Oh wow! Wow!
Yeah. What do?
Wow!
You just fix it as best as you can, and So the damage is in the damage is in 6-figure range, and the insurance is in the 5-figure range. So there's a hole, literally a great big hole, and like a D-shaped where the so-called brook basically carved out a new course as a river when it became one through my property in a direction that it had never gone before in living memory. And there's this D-shaped hole, 6 to 8 feet deep, 300 or 400 yards long, and about 75, 80 yards deep into its incursion into the lake. So all of that's just gone. Incredible.
It's frightening.
It was. It is. Yeah. Anyway, there it is. All right, John, good to see you, mate. John up there in Blighty. Yeah.
I think I know him, or I've met him.
Yeah, you probably do. Yeah, John Mortimer. You probably have. Yeah, he's been around a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, he gets about, doesn't he, John? You get about.
So it's Tuesday where you are, because it's Monday night here. It's 20
Tuesday
past
morning.
11 p.m.
Yeah, Tuesday morning, and it's about 20 past 10 in the morning. Yes. So that's what's happening here.
Nice and easy for you. Late one for me.
Right. As a dietitian listening from Fiji, I am really proud of these doctors who know physiological truths. What you'll find is that most doctors, i.e. medical doctors, don't. Most medical doctors don't understand physiological truths. Neither one of Stephen or I is a medical doctor, about which we are both very proud not to be, actually. Yes. I'm not that sort of doctor, and neither is Stephen. So there you go.
Yep.
There it is.
I have an honours degree in physiology and health sciences, and I'm a specialist practitioner in obesity and diabetes and a qualified phlebotomist.
Excellent. And also, you've been saying crazy things about humans not requiring carbohydrates in their diet at all, Stephen. Would you like to justify that?
Oh, yeah, we can go to that. I thought you might ask that question first that you start.
Which one's that? Oh, okay. Yes, let's do some questions before you get into the carbs thing. The obligatory question about Arjunus that I get every single time I come online for some reason. How many times do you want me to say this? Number one, Arjunus von der Planets was an actor with a Wednesday afternoon certificate in nutrition from somewhere, and basket weaving as well, probably. He had nothing useful to say while he was alive, and he no longer is alive. That's all I have to say about Arjunus von der Planets. Still.
And do you get the same question from the same person every time?
No, it's different people, or at least it's different accounts that are. But every single time I come online, somebody asks me about Arjunus von der Planets. I don't get it. The man's been dead for more than 20 years, as far as I'm aware. Why is he still relevant? He had nothing useful to say when he was alive.
Wasn't he the proponent of eating raw animal products? Wasn't that his thing?
Among other things. But he was also one of these folks that wasn't quite on board with correctitudes and all of that. It was like a Ray Peter a bit in terms of saying some things that were worthwhile, but mostly just rubbish.
Right. So obviously that rubbed you up the wrong way, that question.
Not really. I just answer it the same way every time, which is, wow, I get that question a lot. And the answer is still the same. Raw milk versus pasteurized. It seems N equals 1, just me. Pasteurized milk seems to get me to react negatively. Raw milk doesn't.
Yep.
Go figure.
Same here. And I think it's down to many of the things, isn't it? The heat affecting the enzymes. I think that would be one of the things. I definitely would say I prefer. I mean, I used to think, right, dial back. Before I learnt about low carb, keto, and carnivore, I used to have like a cappuccino every so often, and afterwards I'd have a little bit of a feeling in my stomach that didn't sit as well as I now realise it should have done. But I didn't realise I was lactose intolerant. I didn't realise that until I stopped it for a bit, and then I realised, that milk is playing me up. Well, I don't get that with raw milk products at all. Raw milk cheese seems to be better. Raw milk seems to be better.
Yeah.
And the more you look into it, it makes total sense, because you're getting that raw milk with all the enzymes, you're getting it with all the lactoferrin and all that malarkey. Pasteurization is just heating it till it's a void. One of the things that I found only this weekend is some of the milk that's called whole milk isn't really whole milk, and they now have a new category called full breakfast milk, which is the whole. No, it's not. It's actually more traditional, and it's got the cream, and no cream has been taken off whatsoever, and everything's in it. And I did not know that until this weekend, going down to Somerset, and down to Dorset and all that. Speaking of farmers down there, so I really thought my whole milk was whole, but it isn't. There you go.
Right. I've been having quite a bit of whole raw goat's milk since we moved to this property and got a goat that does milk. We're just going to dry her off now for a bit, and then there's a new generation of goats coming along soon, because they've all been serviced, oil change and filters and stuff. That is, so that's happening. That's been good. What are my other YouTube channels? If Custody Boy, you go to any one of my pre-recorded videos and look in the show notes underneath any one of those, you will find a list of 5 or 6 different YouTube channels that I administer, most of which I haven't posted to for some time, because people don't watch them, but they're still there, and there's still some good value stuff there for a laugh. There's one called The Meat Militia, basically, among other things, which is a bit more of a comedy and humor and stuff, and less being ranty. There's this main channel where it's been ranty up until now, and now it's going to be a bit more professional, but not entirely professional, because who wants that? Not me, goodness no. There's one about how the earth is not flat, for goodness sake. There's one where I'm playing guitar and singing, because I can do that too. A bit. I used to be like, in the 80s, I used to be in what Pim calls poodle rock bands, because we had the hair that made us look like poodles and stuff. And I had the ringlets halfway down my back, and the full head of hair, and the mascara, and the whole black fingernail polish, and the whole lot, leather studs. You wouldn't believe it now, but it's true. And so there's a channel of me doing that stuff just because why not? Whatever, it's just for fun.
Right.
Okay.
So do you want to talk about the carbohydrates?
Yeah, let's do it. Talk about carbs. Yeah, because every time we look at the accepted narrative out there, there's always someone telling us we must eat carbohydrates or else. Let's cover that, Steve. Go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is why I did a Substack, that you can just. So it's the 3 major sort of research papers that admitted the truth. So in 1999, the International Dietary Energy Consultative Group got together, and it was a working group. And I'm going to read from the actual study what they said. The theoretical minimal level of carbohydrate intake is 0. So there it is. It's in black and white. 1999, not 5 grams, not 10 grams. It's 0. And they acknowledge that while carbohydrates might be a universal fuel for all cells, the human body requires precisely none of them from the diet. So that's pretty categorical. That was the first one. Now, what's wrong with that report at the end is the report goes on to recommend 50 grams of carbohydrates per day, to prevent ketosis.
Right.
That is its absolute reason for being. So I
To
thought
prevent
that was
ketosis, as if that's a problem somehow.
exactly, that's what they said. So
Right.
that was a 1999. And it's all referenced, all this, so people think it's, just us. What's the word? Pandering to our ideological sort of standpoint. It isn't. This is what it says. So then we go to the panel on macronutrients of the National Academies of Science in 2005. That was a big report. And they stated, and again, I'm going to quote the actual sentence, the lower limit of dietary carbohydrate compatible with life apparently is 0, provided that adequate amounts of protein and fat are consumed.
Well, that makes perfect sense. That's what I've been saying forever, but publicly on YouTube for about 7 years. Oh, and by the way, I crossed 10 million views while all this flooding and shit was going on, and I missed it because I had my head stuck fully somewhere warm and moist dealing with that. So anyway, 10 million views of the channel. Incredible.
All right.
So thank you all. Thank you all.
It's good.
Anyway, carry on, Stephen. Sorry.
That's all right. Well, you mentioned flooded. I mean, just going back to that weekend we just did, Stephanie Taylor did a lovely line I thought was really good about blood glucose, as we're on blood glucose. And she said something along the lines of, you need 5 grams of carbohydrate in your blood at any one time. Yeah. And we on an average, not us carnivores, but people on an average put maybe 10 to 100 times that. So we're not fueling our body, we're flooding our body. And I thought that was great. Yes.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah. Well, that was a nice line. And I said to her, as soon as she said it, when I got up to do my bit, I echoed it and said, I am nicking that, but I'll always try to credit you, because I think that sums it up. All right. So then we've got 2021. So people are saying these studies, 1999, early 2000s. Well, this is 2021. And this was a comprehensive review in the Nutrients Journal. And it said, despite the acceptable macronutrient distribution range, carbohydrate is not an essential dietary macronutrient, as there is no minimal requirement that prevents deficiency symptoms. Shock
horror. Yeah.
So these are all facts. I mean, these are all studies. These are all, respected journals. I know we're in a space where peer-reviewed, respected journals aren't really that. But if you're going to use that, system and establishment, you definitely don't need carbohydrates. And that's all in there in one place.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. And, with regard to the peer-reviewed veracity fallacy argument, I often use this one. People often that want to argue the antithetical position to what I'm saying will often say, we have all of this peer-reviewed evidence that shows you to be absolutely wrong, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. To which I go, so peer review is absolutely above reproach, is it? And they, absolutely, peer review is the gold standard. And I go, well, am I credible? No, you're just an idiot, they say to me. I say, well, great, because I've peer reviewed more articles than you've had hot feeds, matey. So what now? And that usually stops that argument dead in its tracks. Look,
well, it would.
Having done this, I can tell you this is how it goes most of the time. When an author of an article puts an article together and sends it to a journal, to the editor of that journal, what that editor will do is they will pick 3 people in the field of whatever the paper's about that they know. In other words, these are mates of theirs. They will send these 3 academics the paper and say, it's John here, can you review this? Because academics do not get paid to review articles. This is just kind of expected as a service to the peer community of academics. Can you please have this back to me by this date so that I can accept, reject, or suggest revision to the paper? Here's what happens. If I get that email from John with that paper, I go, fine, John, okay, yes, I'll email you. I'll peer review your bloody paper. Oh, Jesus, And then it goes in the bottom drawer because I've got shit to do. I'm busy. I've got a teaching load as an academic. I've got my own research to take care of, and I've got external consultancies to attract so that I'm viable to get continuance so I don't lose my job, basically, because it's all about attracting funding.
Yeah.
The day before, or a few days before it's due, I'll probably get another email from John saying, hey, listen, can I have that paperback that you said you'd review? Oh, fuck, all right. And I will scan the thing in a cursory way and see if there's any obvious dog's bollocks reasons to say, no, we need to reject this outright. Or I make a few lip service comments about, let's just tidy this bit up here, let's tidy that bit up there, and I send that back to them, sort of thing. That's it. That's the level of scrutiny that the paper gets by most academics.
Yes.
So don't tell me that because a thing is peer reviewed, it's been looked at carefully. No, it hasn't. 99 times out of 100. All right? Let's get that right. So there's that.
And I don't know what the percentage of retractions is, but I think it's pretty high, isn't it, for a lot of the academic papers? Year on year, there's a lot of retractions.
More and more so in recent times because there's been less and less actual science of veracity being undertaken, and it's being found out. So they're going retractions have to occur. There was don't quote me words, I can't remember, but I read a thing. It was in one of the journals a few years back where what the study authors did was they picked up, I think it was 15 or 20 academic papers in a given area, and they went through the paper, and the question was, could we repeat this study and get anything like the similar results they got? Not one of them out of the 15 or 20 papers could either be reproduced because the actual methodology in the paper was not sufficient so that the reader of the paper could see what was actually and what was not done, in fact, or how. And where they could, the results they actually got were completely out with anything you would expect if the first result was actually genuinely work that someone actually did. In other words, what I'm saying is most of this shit is made up.
Yes.
In the journals.
I agree.
Most of the science has not actually been done.
Because the repeatability isn't there. So
that's right.
That's pretty much, that pretty much proves that. I'm just going to go back to that last bit of my article, because I think, by the way, it's free, so I'm not flogging something. Even the American Diabetes Association, you know, that well-known bastion of honesty, transparency, their 2019 standard duty of care guidelines, it actually says very low carbohydrate eating patterns have been shown to reduce A1C and the need for anti-hyperglycemic medications. These eating patterns are among the most studied eating patterns for type 2 diabetes. And this is just my added bit in the article. This is significant because the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes is essentially a result of carbohydrate intolerance. If carbohydrates were essential, restricting them wouldn't improve diabetic outcomes. But it does. And it does that dramatically. And it's repeatable, isn't it? I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I'm absolutely confident if someone is a type 2 diabetic.
No, Stephen, no. When you undertake a low carbohydrate diet as a diabetic, you're not actually curing the diabetes, you're masking the symptoms.
Well, yes.
I said that with tongue in cheek, with sarcasm, boys and girls, because it's absolute gut rot. It's nonsense. But that's what these clowns will say.
I know. It's like saying the alcoholic hasn't turned his life around because he can't still drink. You know, they say that, don't they? Well, you still want to drink, don't you? You can't drink without it going. Well, it's just not looking at. Anyway, right. Or peanut allergy is an even better example. You'll have a healthy life, don't eat peanuts, but you're still, you're not functioning properly. Because you should be able to eat peanuts. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. Yes, so they say. Yeah. So the assumption is that the normal function, the normal situation is you should be able to tolerate any amount of carbohydrates you desire to pour down your stupid neck, and that you should absolutely get away with that carte blanche. And if you can't, then you are somehow abnormal, you are diseased, you have insulin resistance, and that causes your diabetes. That's what they say, these idiots. I've covered that in great detail on my channel if people want to find out why I'm saying that that's just nonsense, because it is nonsense. Skunk Masters, I haven't seen you forever, young man. Where have you been? Have you been busy de-skunking or whatever? I hope you have. I hope things are going well. Do send me an email and let me know how things are, and we'll have a chat behind the scenes. Please share your comments, says Skunk Masters, regarding the 70-year Framingham study. Thanks. Do you want to go first on that, Stephen? Or?
Well, what part of it? I mean, is it the lipid hypotheses? Is that what he's talking about, or is he talking about the blood pressure? Yeah, I mean,
sure.
do you know where he's going with it?
No, I don't. I mean, the Framingham study had a lot of aspects to it. However, the Framingham study is a so-called prospective cohort study, so-called,
yes,
where what they do is collect outcomes on a bunch of people without any scientific control of any kind, without any experimental intervention of any kind. Then what they do is they take the observations they made about the outcomes, they screw those up into a small ball, throw them over their shoulder into the ash can, and make up some other outcomes based on a very, very dodgy statistical procedure called multivariate regression. And then they publish a fallacy about outcomes that never occurred. I think we're done with the Framingham study, frankly. I am.
Yeah.
It's not science.
It's not science. No, it's not. And it's not controlled, and it's all about association, not about causation. I think it started with about 5,000 participants, didn't it? I think there's about 15,000 now because it's spanned 3 generations, something like that. So it's not really done much. I think it reaffirmed that smoking was a problem. I think the signal from smoking and the risks inherent in smoking seem to come out quite strongly. But yeah, it's rubbish. Really.
Pretty much. Yep. I don't know what you think what anybody thinks the value of the Framingham study was or is in any way, shape or form. I have no respect whatsoever for health-based epidemiology. It's nonsense, all of it. It's theology. It's paid for hook, line, and sinker, all of it.
The thing is, I tell you, see, and I like that about you, because even the good outcomes from it are sort of I dismiss as well. But it is proven in other studies as well. I mean, that also, they called it the French paradox, didn't they? That people over 50 in the Framingham study, I don't know why they called it the French paradox, they showed that cholesterol had an inverse relationship. So it was protective. But if you can't accept the things that you don't like about it because it's poor science, I don't accept the good things about it either, because it's like, well, it's just rubbish science. You can't take anything from it.
Right. Yes. 2 squids from Jonathan. Appreciate those 2 squids, Jonathan. You're a good man.
He was at the Great British Meetup.
Good.
He took up 2 chairs.
Yes. Because he's such a huge man.
Yes.
Yes. Speaking of silly things, not that Jonathan's a silly thing, I just decided to talk about silly things. You might notice the coat of arms of the independent sovereign nation of Pimbatia is floating around behind my head there on that side, isn't it? That side there. Yeah. Later on, for those who are interested in a bit of Latin, you can look up what it says on there for yourselves, or I can tell you. Around the garter, it says "et commoditi canes," which is pretty straightforward. It means eat carnivore. And then it says "et non cantare," which is no singing. So eat meat and no singing. And down the bottom it says "omnes urse adore debent," which basically means everybody must worship the bear. Those are the rules here in Pimbatia for anyone that is going to be arriving here later today.
Yes.
Fundraising.
Fudging the numbers straight up invalidates so-called science entirely. Yes, that's
Yes, it does. Indeed, it does. Yep. Carbs are bad, yet I still drinks milk. Yeah. See, the thing is, the amount of carbohydrates that a human being is required to consume for health, longevity, or anything else, that number is absolutely set in stone. And it's not 1 single gram ever, still. What any given individual decides to put into their bodies on any basis, on any given day or ongoingly, is a decision that that person makes for whatever reason. Okay, I hope that's clear. Does that make sense? And you do you, John. If you think that milk is not any good for you and you don't want to have milk in your life, I support your decision to not have any milk. Absolutely. However, that does not affect the fact that neither you nor I require a single gram ever. And there is no argument you can make that would state otherwise, because it would be wrong. Super chat action, love it. $9.99. That Excellent. Will keep the lights on for a bit, and maybe that provides a bit of feed for His Royal Highness, His Majesty, Lord Edward Yellow, King of the Bears, perhaps. Don't know. Yep. So that's the one you were talking about just before about fudging the numbers. Yep. Straight up. Anytime you pick up any so-called scientific paper and it says adjustments were made, you are looking at pseudoscience. You are looking at outcomes that did not occur. They were not observed as such. They've taken what they observed and changed the outcome on the basis of mathematically modeling it to what they think it should have been had they bothered to actually impose some control. It's not only not science, it's anti-science, actually. It's 180 degrees out of phase with science. I hope this was going up some flagpoles.
I mean, talking of the numbers, I was looking at a study today. I can't say too much because I'm doing a thing with Lee Copus talking about this particular vegan influencer. And he flashed up a study which he clearly doesn't understand, which was, to his mind, really convincing that animal products will bring on IBD. But he didn't look at the fact it was relative risk, not absolute risk. So he was saying, it's 3 times more likely that you'll get IBD with animal protein. But if you look at absolute risk, you have a 99.83% from the study he showed, by the way, 99.83% of not developing IBD.
Right. Good.
Over a decade.
Yes.
I mean, so, for a long period of time, the numbers are just ridiculous. They just can't read it. And I think that's one of the biggest things I have a problem with, is it's always relative risk when they need it to be. And it's absolute risk when they're fighting against something. It's frustrating.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. Right.
Anyway.
Okie dokie. There it is. Right. So do we have any questions, staff, class, whatever? I know there was probably some questions earlier on that I haven't brought up while we were banging on about how you don't need any carbs. Let me just have a quick look at that. Diddly diddly. Raw milk or pasteurized. We dealt with that one. Talk amongst yourselves. What are the other channels? Dealt with that one.
Have you seen
Will
it?
there be another British meetup in the near future? I missed out on this one.
Catherine, yes, I think there will be. It was pretty successful, actually. I mean, I was joking about the meat and the water because they did run out, and they were very, very surprised that happened. But I guess caterers don't understand carnivore at all. In fact, before it started, I was part of the sort of, not committee, but I was promoting it a little bit on my channel, and I asked about the burgers. Will they be without seasoning? Well, we didn't think of that. I'm like, well, you need to, because there's people out there that just want the meat, maybe with an egg yolk to bind it. So I think next year if they do it, which I think they will, it will be even better. It was for a first attempt. It was absolutely fantastic. I think they'll do it next year. I think it'll be bigger and better. Yeah, it was really good. Well attended. Couldn't get a seat in the room to watch. Great speakers.
Because Jonathan was taking too many of them up.
Yeah, it was Jonathan. Yeah, he couldn't get past him.
Love you, big boy, and there's nothing you can do about it, by the way. Oh, here's the other question we always get: fasting. Do you want to deal with that one?
Yeah,
How much
with fasting.
do? Dry fasting, 2 days, 3 days, more, not at all. What's your take on fasting, Stephen?
Well, it depends what you're doing it for, right? If you're doing it for weight loss or therapeutically, I think it's good. Don't forget, right now, I am not eating. So am I fasting, or am I just fueled? So that's the first thing. I like to sort of say, come dial back a little bit first. And what is the purpose of eating? Well, the purpose of eating is for nutrition. I don't go and put petrol or gasoline in my car and then drive around thinking, I'm not filling up, I'm not filling up, I'm not going to fill up, I'm not going to fill up. You just do it. And then when your gauge goes down there, you think, well, I've got fuel again, right? Well, that should be what we do with food, you know. But let's say you've got an overplus of body fat and you want to get rid of it, or you've got something therapeutically you think might benefit from a bit of fasting. I think give it a go. I would definitely not dry fast straight away. And I don't maybe go for 18 hours. And then I've had a 6-hour eating window. So obviously overnight you're not eating. So everyone fasts when they're asleep. Well, most people, unless you get up at midnight and raid the fridge. But so you are already fasting. So then if you extend the time and maybe not have breakfast and you feel great by having 18 hours without eating, 6 hours eating, that sounds really good. And you might think, well, if 18 hours is really good, what would 24 hours do? So you could try 24 hours and you might feel great and you might see some body composition changes. And then you get hooked and you think, right, well, I'll do a 2-day one. And if you get into it and I don't know, a day and a half into it, you feel hungry and you feel cold and you are genuinely hungry, I would stop it and I would eat. And I would just be very intuitive about it. Now, I think once you've started to fast, you do want to try the extended ones. I personally think my sweet spot for changing a bit of body composition, losing a bit of body fat is 3 days. And I do it, but I don't do it like once a month. I haven't got a regime. I just do it when I feel like it. Or, we were busy Saturday and Sunday with this meetup thing, didn't eat much. And that's good. So what Richard Smith and myself did when we did our 24-hour live stream, which we've done 2 years running, so people can witness that we're not eating, we didn't eat. We could not have done that if we were high carb. That's the other thing I would say. You can't do that. You need to eat all the time. So should you do it? Dry fasting is mentioned. Now, dry fasting, I quite like, but not for extended period of times. But my actual liking of it is for a very stupid, simple reason. When I dry fast, I start thinking, I really fancy a glass of water. And I don't think about food at all. So it makes food fasting really easy. Because my brain just goes, I look at a glass of water and think, wow, I'm going to break my fast with this water. Well, that's such a mind change. It's so stupid. But it's, for me, it's very effective. So if I want to do a fast now, I think, well, I'll start with a dry fast, see how far I go. And then when I crack and have a glass of water, then it becomes, just a fast and see how long I go. And I think it's great. Obviously, put your ketones up. And then when you go back to refeeding, the longer you fast, the more sensible you've got to be about refeeding. Your insulin levels are going to be really low. So low that Robert Cywis might have a heart attack because of your insulin suppression.
Don't get me started.
Yes. So you have low insulin. So basically, when you come back to a refeed after 3 days, maybe with a little bit of fat first or a very small meal and just be sensible coming back into eating. But I think it's good. But for some people, If you have an eating disorder, if you're underweight, you shouldn't be fasting. I don't think you should fast when you're pregnant. I think you just got, it's common sense. I mean, all of this stuff, Bart, it's not science, is it really? It's common sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, really, when you come down to it, it's eat the right foods, listen to your body, and react to what's happening.
Yes, pretty much. Yep. Absolutely. Carnivore and bone spurs is an interesting one. What do you think?
Yeah, well, Coach Raymond is notoriously one of those people that had pretty bad bone spurs, went carnivore, and they went. I mean, bone is constantly breaking down and remodeling. So why wouldn't it improve it? You know, so yeah, I think it would help.
Yep. I can't see why it wouldn't. At least it won't make it worse. We know that because, well, it's the species appropriate, species specific diet for a human being. So why would it make anything worse? Don't know.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I always say to people when they're talking about like a CAC score or something. The first thing that happens is you slow the progression. So it could theoretically get worse. Some things can get worse, but if you looked at the previous year or the previous year before that, it's not getting as bad as quickly. Then you see that slow down, and eventually you sort of plateau, and then it starts to get better. That's what I think happens for most people.
Right. Random question. What's that got to do with the price of fish in China? Life model is mostly nude. Okay.
Well, under these clothes, I'm nude.
Yep, me too. Yeah. It's a new thing. We're all nude under our clothes today.
Yeah.
I may or may not be wearing pants. I am, but they are my pajama pants.
Is this like Schrodinger's cat, but Bart K's pants, is it?
Yes. A lot of people say on pants. But they're the people that can't get through a discussion with me without stuffing their face with carbs the whole time, fiddling with their hair and showing us their muffin tops. Those kind of people. People that say that glycation is caused by fat.
No. I know where
the hint was in the title of the glycation, not fatation. Never mind. Yep. That's got a question mark on it, so it must be a question. I swell when ingesting carbs in the form of plants, but not dairy. Why would that be? Why would that be, Stephen?
Well, plants come with a host of other things, namely fiber.
Yeah.
So I think that's where your culprit really is.
Yes. How do you get a question answered? Well, you prefix it with a large capital Q and then a colon, and then you type your question out in full. Don't use TLAs. They're a PITAFFS, and then suffix the whole thing with a question mark. And then Ted will find it and bring it up on the screen if it's worthy, and you can get it answered. Maybe. This one hasn't been done properly either. No capital Qs or colons or anything. Goodness gracious. Thoughts on drinking blood? Are we vampires?
Well, some tribes drink blood. They normally mix it with dairy. They tend to mix it with dairy.
Yep.
It's not something that appeals to me. I mean, that's the other thing we always talk
I
about.
don't mind a black pud though. Black pud's nice. Like that.
Oh yeah. Blood. Well, we call it blood pudding as well. Which the problem is nowadays the modern. So I sound like an old fart. Well, I am an old fart. I'm 61.
You are. You are.
Exactly.
You're over 60. 61. Yeah. Jesus.
So I'm officially an old fart now.
That's right.
I think the modern blood pudding or black pudding has way too much in the way of oats and stuff. But the original black pudding, I remember from I remember 20 years ago when it was all fields. It was much nicer and had less oats. So it's quite good like that. But drinking blood doesn't appeal to me. But yes, I understand why people do it. And it's difficult to get. I wonder how you would get it, to be honest. If you were in a sort of westernized society, I don't think you'd get it.
We can get blood pudding here. It comes wrapped in plastic and tubes that look like dog roll. Whatever. See, here's one that's correctly formatted, boys and girls, staff. This is what you do. Capital Q, colon, type the question out in full. Oh, though there are some abbreviations in there. We don't use abbreviations, thank you. And there's a question mark at the end of it. So that makes things a bit easier. Right. How solid is visceral fat as a contributor to hard health events? DEXA says my visceral fat is 1 pound. Overall body fat is 34.5%. Fat-free mass index, is it? 24.6. ELMI, whatever the hell that is, 10.5. My hunch is that carnivore drain visceral fat fast. Question mark. What do you think?
Well, what's the actual question? How
Exactly.
solid is visceral fat as a contributor? Well, I think it's pretty nailed on that it's not good to have visceral fat. That's fat around your vital organs.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. What's your figures there? So the DEXA says visceral fat is 1 pound. Well, that would be excellent. I think my wife's is 2. I'm 9.5, I think, which is still under the range, which is 12. 12 in the UK. You want to be under 12. So mine's 9.5 at 65. That's 61. That's not bad. That's a very small level. So if you're asking about hard health outcomes, that looks very good.
Yep.
Fat-free mass index 24.6, very good. That's very substantial lean mass, isn't it? Overall body fat 34%. If you're male, it's higher than ideal. Yeah.
If you're female, perhaps not.
Yeah. Context. There you go. There's a big word for tonight. Context matters. In all of this thing, by the way. Lean mass index, appendicular lean mass index. I would imagine.
Yep. All right.
So your arms and legs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That looks pretty good to me.
All right. Good. Carry on, soldier, as you were. Weren't there 2 versions of the Framingham study? Oh, probably at least 2. It had a bunch of different aspects that were pulled out and published in different papers, and also there may well have been differential reporting on its outcomes in various places. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that was well. There was 2, wasn't there? What was in Castilli? Dr. William Castilli. He was the one of the what they called one of the directors of the Framingham, and he actually said that the more saturated fat 1/8, the more cholesterol 1/8, the more calories 1/8, the lower the person's serum cholesterol. He did actually say that. So he basically said diet and serum cholesterol had nothing to do with it. So basically undercutting everything they said, and of course,
All right. So he had his say, therefore, as a persona non grata thereafter, did he? Is that what it was?
Yeah, there was it was 1960s, 1970s was the original analysis, and then the American Heart Association got involved. And guess what? It started to be reinterpreted. So I know where they're going with this. I might even do a Substack about it, actually, because the findings were the inconvenient truth.
Yeah.
Well, we know all this, don't we?
All right. How bad is it to have a few carbs? What is the Randall cycle effect long term? And ketosis should reverse some of it. Well, the Randall cycle is only an issue if the amount of oxidizable substrate you are consuming is in excess of metabolic requirements for same. It won't kick in until beyond that point, pretty much. A few carbs, meaning, I don't know, let's say up to 50 carbs a day, 50 grams, is unlikely to cause any given person an overt problem immediately, so long as the form of carbs that they take in is not overtly aggravating, irritating to that person. So there's very likely to be any long-term effect of that, very unlikely to be any long-term effect of that, I should say. And ketosis really has nothing to do with this particular argument, I would have thought. Anything different on that, Stephen, from your point of view, from what I just said?
No, not really. I mean, you're the man when it comes to the Randall cycle.
Well, Randall was the man when it comes to the Randall cycle
Well,
back in
yes,
1960s.
I guess it is.
Pretty much. But he's no longer with us, and nobody else is really talking about it except for some idiots, Ray Peters, who think they understand it, and they don't.
Well, yeah, I will add a little bit. I mean, I get exasperated with the continual phrase insulin resistance, whereas we need to come up with a 2-word phrase, Bart, rather than the Randall cycle. I don't know, cellular protection or something.
Yes.
That's not that encapsulates what actually is happening.
There has been a term coined, and it's adaptive. They just add the word adaptive onto insulin resistance. So it's adaptive insulin resistance to demarcate it from that pathological kind, which is completely different somehow.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a cell protection system, isn't it? Which makes total sense. And, because I suppose I'm quite big on the bloods nowadays with the book and all that, and doing lots of talks about it. Now, I like the fact you talk about the red blood cells being the sacrificial lamb. That's where they're going to stick the glucose on. Then the spleen's going to wake it out of the system, and away we go again. I think it's much more elegant, actually, if you include that bit that you talk about the red blood cells being the sacrificial lamb. I think that's an excellent addition. Anyway.
Yeah. This is somebody referring to Harley, and for those that don't know, Harley is the given name of one durian douchebag rider who thinks himself to be an expert in all manners of things and whatever else. He's an idiot, basically. And if anyone really wants to see my abs, they can come to Pimbatia and I'll show them to you. Or you can watch the last stream I did with Stephen, where I did. At the end, I said, here you go, here's my abs, just because, not that I have impressive abs, but the point is I have no visceral fat lying over my midsection, which at, heading towards 54 years of age is probably outside of the box. And Stephen, at your age, not having visceral fat hanging around your guts, you'd be almost unheard of, wouldn't you, at your age?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't think seeing your abs is actually a marker of health, to be honest.
No, it's not. No. But yes, you can see the line of where my abs are. Yes, if I'm looking down like so and I clench my abs, there is a cleft down the middle and they stand out. Yes, fine. Which all that shows is that there's no fat overlying the abs to speak of. Well, so what? At other times, I've had some fat overlying them because I ate too many carbs or drank too many dirty beers. Not this kind of beer. The other kind of beer, the kind you drink, for goodness sake. What's wrong with you people? Don't know the difference between beer and beer.
Yeah. In Dorset, there's a water made in a place called beer. It's very confusing because you get a bottle of glass bottle of water and it's got beer water. It's like, hey.
Where can I get some of that?
Yes.
Yes. All right. I have recently experienced increased resting heart rate by roughly 5 beats per minute, says Chiclaro 101. Do you know the reasons why this could have happened? My God, there are billions of reasons that could have happened.
There is. It's
Can you give us a bit more?
multifactorial.
Yes. Multifactorial
Electrolytes.
Indeed. Yeah,
Yes,
could be.
Electrolytes, magnesium deficiency, dehydration,
Increased
T3
sympathetic
elevation.
activity, T3 elevation, stress, distress.
A sexy girl's walked past.
Yep, that could do it too. Yeah. Good. Give us a bit more to go on. Here's a question I know because it's got a Q and a colon and a question mark at the end. So, how long would it take to be able to perform in the gym at the same level as someone who relies on carbs to be fat adapted? Can you ever be as explosive? It seems better for endurance. In my experience, it's a 6 to 12 month period to get fully adapted to a non-carb munching approach, after which time not only are you as explosive, you are probably more explosive and more powerful, and you have better endurance than you actually ever did as a carved up athlete. To which people always respond to me in writing the keyboard warriors, they go, saying, there no serious athletes who don't use carbs. What are you talking about, you silly bald man? To which I say, well, in fact, yes, there are. I work personally with several of them and have also done in the past. Why don't you hear about it, Charlie Brown? Well, it's because that's their competitive edge. Of course, they're not going to tell you. They're going to keep it to themselves. Idiot. Right, so there you go. About 12 months, 6 to 12 months. And you need to expect that there will be a trough in your performance for that period of time, after which you'll be better than you ever were. Just like Pumbati is going to be. We're going to build back better, Stephen. We're going to build a wall.
Build back better.
For it.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, blimey.
The vegans are paying for it. Yes.
Next question.
Next question. Dr. Kiltz always points to Pottinger's cats as a study that proved that eating cooked meat is not as healthy as raw meat. In fact, do you agree? No, I don't. I love Dr. Kiltz. Dr. Kiltz is great. We get on famously. He's a great bloke. His heart's in absolutely the right place, and everything he has to say pretty much is right, except this. For here's the thing, you see. We are not cats. We are human beings. We have evolved along different lines to cats. Our nutritional requirements are different to those of cats, and suggesting that we shouldn't eat our meat cooked because cats don't is a bit silly, frankly. Sorry, Dr. Kiltz, love you. Nothing you can do about it, but that's a very, very silly thing to say. Okay.
I wrote about this. Sorry, I'm going to mention my Substack again. Sorry about
Absolutely, go for it.
And I'm actually on Robert Kiltz's conversation program this Friday, by the way. So
there you go. Tell him I said hello and I love him, and there's nothing he can do about it.
The second part of that question said about cats synthesizing taurine. They can't actually do that. But when you look at Pottinger's cats, it's not really talking about the difference between cooked meat and raw meat. It's talking about the generational changes of a processed cooked meal or an unprocessed. So it's basically proving that if the grandparents have eaten a certain way, it will affect the next generation and the next generation, even if they change the diet. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's about the acidity of the stomach. So if you look at cats, their acidity is like 2 to 3. So they don't cope with cooked food, but then chimps don't cook, and their acidity is 4 to 3. But if you look at birds where it's 1.5, humans 1.5 to 2, we do well with cooked food and we do well with raw food. So that's it. I mean, it's really that simple. It's down to the pH of the stomach, really. If you want to extrapolate it to humans, that's what it shows. Really, it's more about a generational study. And yes, it did do raw and it did do cooked. And in cats, as you just said, Bart, it showed that the cooked food was suboptimal. Well, yes, but their stomach is suboptimal. They are cats. They are not humans. You could have done that experiment with birds and come up with a very different conclusion. Very different. So, yeah. And you could have done it in humans, got a different one. So,
Look, if you identify as a cat, absolutely, that's valid, because whatever.
Meow.
Yeah. Meow. Sorry. Yes. So tell us, Stephen, about your experience dealing with folks with kidney disease.
Oh, this is very good, actually. This is, to be honest, Bob, when we do these, we don't pay ourselves. We don't get any money for doing stuff like this. And when I went down to the Great British Meetup, everybody that spoke there, Jonathan, myself, we all don't get paid. If people want to know, we don't get paid for that. And I was worried about doing the thing about bloods again. I was thinking, people have heard this, it's boring, is it? But anyway, I asked a lot of people and they said, no, please do it, even though most people have heard some of it. And I always talk about the EGFR being a terrible measure for kidney function when you eat a bit of protein. Above normal, because it's a calculation, it's estimated and based on the creatinine levels. And the best test is cystatin C. Sorry, it's a long answer, but I've been as quick as I can.
Absolutely, please.
Right. So I always recommend the cystatin C. And one of the things that's really weird, and the only good thing that's come out of woke, in my opinion, is in 2021, EGFR was deemed racist because of the
love it. Yeah.
because of the race factor, because if you're
Yeah.
African American, you have a slightly higher, calculation. They add 1.6 to your score. So, and they want cystatin C for that reason. And I thought, well, look, I don't care how we get it as long as it becomes recognized as a really good measure. Anyway, cut a long story short, I always start with a sort of quote from my book from a real person that was told, your kidney's tanking, it's gone from 90 to 60, and it's because you've gone carnivore. They didn't put in that it's because you're eating more protein. And they were going down the route of dialysis and transplant and all this sort of stuff. And they did a cystatin C, and the reading equivalence of GFR from cystatin C was 112, right, which is phenomenally good. Well, anyway, at this talk on Saturday, there was a mother there with her son, 10-year-old son, who's being told he's got kidney failure. And they're basing it all on the EGFR. And in my talk, I mentioned what I just said. And she came up to me afterwards and she said, you have made my life a lot easier because I can go back to my doctor, who is a carnivore supporting doctor, and say, get the cystatin C. And she pointed to her son, who was brilliant, who was fist bumping everyone and arm wrestling. Spent the whole day being a wonderful, well-behaved 10-year-old that everybody loved. And she said, and you'll love this bit, does he look like a kid with kidney failure? And I'm like, no. Let's look at what he presents like. If you didn't have that bloody reading, you wouldn't be worried, and there's certainly no signs of it. So anyway, she's going to go back to the doctor, get the cystatin C, and then she's going to come and do a success story for me.
Nice.
Because I've mentioned all this sort of stuff, I get a lot of people asking. So I did a protocol, a PDF protocol, completely free. What's good to eat if you're trying to repair your kidney? And of course, the main thing is not to have lots of carbs. I know it's like, the same old answer, but what really causes kidney failure probably is, high levels of insulin, diabetic complications, high blood pressure. And if you knock the carbs out, you do tend to lower your blood pressure. You tend to lower your insulin, and therefore your kidney is given a little bit more help to get back to where it should be. And I've had people come to me, literally, the most stark one was they were given 2 weeks to live. Their function was so low. Yeah. And that was 6 years ago. And I interviewed them 5 years ago. So anyway, yes. So I think I answered that question.
Very good. Very good indeed. All right. Well, we're coming up on an hour and a quarter. I think that's probably enough for an hour's long thing. Not that there's actually any time limit on it. So with that, I think we'll thank everybody for their attendance and the questions and etc. We'll also invite you, of course, Stephen, for those watching on my channel, to just give us a rundown of all your social medias, where people can find you and such.
Well, yes. So the Substack, you can look at that. That's the UK Carnivore.
Have you got a Substack, Stephen?
Yeah, I know. I don't mention
just
it.
Just heard of it. Go on, your Substack is?
The ukcarnivore.substack.com. You can find me on Instagram, which is, I think, the UK Carnivore. X, it's UK Carnivore. There's a theme here. My website is the ukcarnivore.com, and I have a YouTube channel, and you can look at Coach Stephen for that one.
Excellent. And where can folks get the fine adult stem cell promoting supplements, if you like, or nutraceuticals from the fine folks at the Sorrel Company?
Well, either from you or from me. I think you had the link up on the screen, didn't you?
There it is, right there.
Because it's online.
HTTPS onlinecoach.sorrel.com. There it is. Yes. That's where you get it from. And where do we follow Ted?
That I don't know. Sorry.
It's also at the bottom of the screen on the X platform at HRH, His Royal Highness, that is, _Ted. And if you want to hear all about next Tuesday, he'll tell you all about next Tuesday over there. Yes. And he throws it around liberally all over the place. He's effing and jeffing and blinding the whole time, is Ted. I can't do a thing with him. I've asked him
Are
to tone
you
it down.
retarded?
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
I can't do
Yes.
it. He just won't. He's his own man, his own bear. He does his own thing. He thinks he's important because his other gig is doing the voice for the fictional character Brian Blessed.
Yes.
So
he does a
he
good
thinks
job doing that.
He does. It
he's
sounds
very-
exactly like him. Funnily enough, because
Yes.
that's where the voice comes from. So there it is.
I did know that.
and I think Brian should stop using it. Frankly,
Yeah,
belongs to
I
Ted.
know.
Mm.
It's cheeky. It's very
I know.
cheeky.
Cheeky. All right, folks. Look, it's been fun. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Stephen, for your valuable time. Once again, as usual, you're a gentleman and a scholar. And we'll catch up again soon once I've actually shoveled some more shit around this place and tidied it up a bit and cleaned up the stinky, rotten old mud off the top of my pastures and filled in some holes and put some fences up and electrified them and made some water happen and, all those things.
Yeah.
Busy
Well,
times.
good luck with that. And I hope people
Right.
keep donating to help out because it's such a worthy cause.
6 figures damage, 5 figures insurance. You do the math. Yes, we could do with some help. All right. Thanks for that. See you soon.
Thank you.
Ciao for now.